why do you think that construction is the second highest industry in terms of suicide and depression? First, for the non-construction guys, if you don't know, the number one industry who is most likely to suffer from depression and suicidal ideation are coal miners, the ones that go in the ground. And I can only imagine that makes sense. But the second is construction. And I've been part of construction for 30 years. And I want to ask either why do you think that is, or what is your experience of depression or suicide as somebody who lives in the umbrella of the construction industry? So I want to start with the construction folks first, and then we'll move over on to the non-construction folks. And for the sake of calling people out, Gabe, what is it that you are willing to share in regards to your experience or why you think this is?
A little of both. I have owned my own construction business. Not only did I grow up in the environment of don't show your emotions, push it down, be a man, suck it up. Add that to the construction industry, which I think exacerbates that mindset. Put some duct tape on it. If you're not dead, you can keep working. And I think that transfers over not just physically, but emotionally. I just feel it's the environment of job sites, and at least it was as I was growing up. And I feel like most men don't have an outlet to let these emotions out or feel safe to let these emotions out. My experience, add on being a business owner, in the last year, I lost $300,000 on a project that I had to pay out of pocket to finish. And I thought about ending my life because of it. So I know where it comes from. And I have the outlets. I have MenLiving. I have a therapist. I meditate. I have friends I can call at any hour of the day. And I still scared the crap out of myself because I had these thoughts. Never was I going to end my life, but I thought about it. And that's what scared me. And because of a job, that's what I had just experienced a friend take his life 6 months prior, who's a business owner, but not in construction. And I think that was at the forefront of my mind of witnessing somebody going through losing their spouse, my friend, his wife, witnessing someone losing their spouse through suicide. And it scared me that popped up in my mind. So it is raw. And I feel that I just feel that there's not enough, that men just don't have enough support or feel safe enough to be vulnerable to reach out.
Yeah. Thanks, Gabe. I appreciate you. And I'm making up stories that I hear your voice crackling. So you're sharing exactly what I like to cultivate in these meetings, which is vulnerability. So I just want to honor your ability and your strength to be in that place of vulnerability and courageous enough to share your feelings. I know you pretty well, so I've seen you emote like the best of them. So I just want to say thank you for continuing to model that for me, because it really does help me. It's like you got to see it to be it. And you are just a wonderful teacher for me. So thank you. Who else wants to share something in regards to either work stress or construction through that lens? Rob.
For looking at construction, it's not a steady industry. It's not like there's ebbs and flows. And for a country where many people live paycheck to paycheck, it can be really stressful to not have a steady paycheck. There are a lot of people who are business owners and who they develop trade skills and create their own business. And the fallacy of being an entrepreneur is they get into the business knowing how to do their craft very well, but then they're tasked with running a business, which is a complete separate competency. And someone who can be a master carpenter might not have the slightest idea about marketing and keeping the books. And it's a lot of these jobs are very high dollar. And if something is not done right on the business side of things, it can be financially catastrophic. And there's a lot of people who are taken advantage of. It's a cutthroat business as well. Some people will, when you're bidding against someone for a job, there's always going to be a low bidder who's going to be a low bidder to get the job, and then they're going to want to have change orders to make their profits. Whereas when I'm bidding a job, I try and cover all the details and make sure there are no change orders, because I'm looking at the long run. And when I'm competing against someone who is just going for the low price to get their foot in the door and then take advantage of the customer, I have a really hard time competing with them. There's a lot of people who hire contractors and they use them to fund their projects. If I am doing a $50,000 plumbing job and the developer doesn't have all the financing in place, they're going to keep delaying paying me as long as they can, and that is an unfair burden on me and my business. And basically, I'm funding someone else's job and paying the interest for free. There's people who will say, "Hey, you're done. The job's done, but I'm going to hold the 10% retention and go ahead and sue me for it, because you're going to lose more than the 10% if you try and sue me." And
so through the lens of when you feel like you're being taken advantage of, Rob, and if you're in a job, and through the lens of MenLiving emotionally, what do you think happens to you when you start feeling like you're being taken advantage of emotionally?
emotionally, yeah, I feel I beat up on myself. I feel like I was an idiot. I was duped. I should have seen this coming. And it's just, yeah, it's tough.
I'm an idiot is not a feeling. I'm wondering if
Yeah.
you can be a little.
I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel less than. I feel inadequate.
And is most of the sadness and anger directed inwards or outwards or both?
Both. And when I direct it outward, it fires me up, but it usually doesn't impact the person I'm angry at. It's an emotion that eats me away from the inside, but it doesn't change the situation with my client.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. Any other construction folks out there want to chime in on their experience, either with emotions or mental wellness, depression, whatever, or why you think it might be? Tracy, you got anything?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think a factor that really adds to the stress and anxiety is a lot of environmental factors. Literal, it can be very hot, very cold. In my case, for many years, I was a traveler. So I went to the projects, industrial projects around the country. So I'm entering in new areas, meeting new people. So the stress of that, while also being expected to perform at a high level in a very competitive, high pressure type job, and does induce anxiety and stress. So when you tie in some of those other factors, as you do move up and into ownership or senior level positions, you also have the client interactions, the leverage issues you're going to face, money crunching issues, and chasing checks if you're a contractor. All of these are very difficult. And I think that some of the points that Rob made were just hit home for me, and Gabe as well, really across the board. So I just want to echo what they said, but really add in, there is the environmental factor of, and it's really, in many cases, there's safety considerations. It could be an unsafe environment you're working in. And especially if you're a young person getting into the industry and you're moving up through the ranks, sometimes you get that feeling of, what did I get myself into? Trying to figure out how to navigate kind of these job sites and all that's expected of you in such a hurry. And anymore, they're expecting you to do way more past your skill level in many cases right away.